Welcome to the Explainer. You know, we all think we know a star employee when we see one. But what if the way we've been measuring performance, the way companies have been managed for 100 years, is just wrong? Today, we're diving into the data that changes absolutely everything and uncovering the modern playbook for managing true top talent.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll meet the stars. Then we'll look at the old, broken model of performance. After that, we get to the really good stuff. The surprising new truth about talent, why things changed, and finally, the new playbook for how to win.
All right, first up, who are these star performers really? I mean, we're not just talking about people who are good at their jobs. We're talking about the people who completely redefine what's possible in their entire field.
You see them everywhere, right? Think of a tech titan like Elon Musk. This guy didn't just build a company, he completely revolutionized industries, from how we pay for things online with PayPal to literally launching rockets into space with SpaceX.
Or you've got business visionaries like Howard Schultz. He took a tiny Seattle coffee shop and turned Starbucks into this global phenomenon, fundamentally changing how the entire world thinks about and drinks coffee.
And of course you see it in sports. Look at an athlete like Peyton Manning. His value was so much more than just his own incredible, record-breaking stats.
But here's the really crucial point from the source material. A star isn't defined by their personality or some checklist of skills. No, a star is defined by one single thing: exorbitant output. They produce so much value, they can literally determine the success or failure of their entire organization. And this is where the real magic happens. A star performer doesn't just get a bigger slice of the pie for themselves. They make the entire pie bigger for everyone. That Peyton Manning example is perfect for this. The year he set records, his team also set a record for the most players with 10 or more touchdowns. See? He didn't just win, he lifted up everyone around him.
So, if these people are so incredibly valuable, how have companies traditionally tried to find and manage them? Well, for about 100 years, it all boiled down to one simple idea. For decades, literally decades, management theory and practice have been completely obsessed with one simple, elegant shape: the bell curve. You've probably heard of it as the normal distribution. The logic behind the bell curve seems to make sense, right? It assumes that most people, the huge majority, are just kind of average. They're clustered right there in the middle. Then you have a few poor performers on one side and a tiny, equally small number of stars on the other. Symmetrical, tidy.
Now, this wasn't just some theory in a textbook. It had massive, real-world consequences. It led to this practice of forced ranking, where managers at huge companies had to literally force their teams into this curve, labeling a set percentage as top, middle, and bottom, whether it was true or not.
I mean, this model decided who got promoted, who got bonuses, and who got fired for millions of people. But here's the billion-dollar question that changes everything. What if that fundamental assumption, the one that guided management for a century, is just flat out wrong? Well, it turns out it is wrong. Totally wrong. And we know this because of massive new studies covering over 600,000 people. And this data, it paints a completely different picture of how talent actually works in the real world. It turns out human performance, especially in these complex, knowledge-based jobs we have today, doesn't follow a neat and tidy bell curve at all. It follows something called a power law distribution. So what on earth does a power law look like? Well, unlike that symmetrical bell curve, a power law is totally lopsided. It has this huge peak where most people are, and then this long, seemingly endless tail that stretches way out to the right. That tail, that's where the stars live. And it tells us there are way more high performers than the old model could ever account for.
And look, this isn't just a theory. The data is absolutely staggering. In a study of researchers, the bell curve predicted you'd find only 35 stars. The reality? 460. That's not a small difference. That's over 13 times more.
And you see this same pattern everywhere you look. For entertainers, the bell curve said, yeah, you'll probably get 5 people with 10 or more Grammy nominations. The real number? 64. The old model was off by a factor of 12. It's just not even close.
And one more for good measure, U.S. politicians. The model predicted 13 long-serving reps. The data found 173. The conclusion here is pretty clear. Star performers are not some rare, mystical creature. They are a much more common and much more powerful force than we ever gave them credit for.
Now, this leads to a conclusion that is going to kind of mess with your head for a second. Because those stars have such a massive outsized impact, they drag the mathematical average way, way up. And the result of that? In the real world, the vast majority of people actually perform below average. And listen, that's not an insult. It's just the statistical reality of a world that has superstars in it.
Okay, so this brings up a huge question. If the bell curve seemed to work for so long, what changed? Why does performance today look so radically different?
The answer is simple. The very nature of work has fundamentally changed. Think about it. Back in the day, the economy was all about manufacturing. If you're on an assembly line, your performance is capped. You can't be 10 times faster than the person next to you. The line won't let you. That kind of environment naturally creates a bell curve. But today, in our service and knowledge economy, those physical caps are gone. A single great software developer can be 10 or even 100 times more productive than an average one.
And there were three huge forces that just blew the lid off individual performance. First, the internet gave one person incredible leverage. Second, globalization meant their impact could be felt all over the world. And third, a more educated global talent pool meant there were more potential stars than ever before. The game, as they say, had completely changed.
So, if we know all this now, how should we actually manage people? If all the old rules are broken, what does the new playbook even look like?
Well, the source material we're drawing from lays out 5 key practices. This is a system that doesn't just manage stars, it actively tries to produce them. It's all about fairness, how you structure work, who you train, who you hire, and of course, how you pay people.
This playbook, it really represents a total shift in thinking. It's not about forcing people into boxes anymore. It's about creating an environment where that long tail of star performance can actually grow and flourish. So let's dig into it.
Okay, step 1. It all starts with fairness. But it's so important to understand that fairness is not the same thing as equality. This isn't about everyone getting the same reward. It's about everyone having the same opportunity to earn a huge reward. Think about a company like Chipotle, where there's a clear, transparent, performance-based path that can take a person working the line all the way up to senior management. That's fairness. Second, you have to structure the work to unleash your talent, not to box it in. Soccer legend Abby Wambach said it best. I've never scored a goal without getting a pass from someone else. That's exactly why you have to get rid of roadblocks and let your stars move between teams. It spreads their knowledge around and helps them lift up the whole organization.
Third big shift, rethink who you train. The old model was obsessed with fixing underperformers. The power law proves you get a way bigger return on your investment by pouring resources into your best people to make them even better. Then, you use those stars as mentors, like they do at Nordstrom, to basically clone their success throughout the company.
Number 4 is all about hiring and firing based on actual performance. The sources warn about something they call the cesspool syndrome. That's where average performers hire other average performers and the talent level of the whole organization just sinks. You avoid that by hiring for proven ability over some vague notion of culture fit. And when times get tough, you protect your stars at all costs.
And finally, number 5, modernize how you pay people. Pay has to be tied directly to performance, not just how long someone's been clocking in. This means you have to be okay with big, transparent pay gaps that are based on results. And you should use creative tools like iDeals. These are basically custom compensation packages that companies like IBM use to attract and keep the absolute best of the best.
So what's the bottom line here? Well, ironically, the famous words of Jack Welch, the biggest champion of the old bell curve, are truer today than ever before. The team with the best players wins. The huge difference is that today, we finally have the data to understand who those best players really are, how many of them there really are, and what it truly takes to help them and the whole team win.
The organizations that are going to thrive in this century are the ones that leave the bell curve in the history books and start managing for the power law reality that we all actually live in. And so I'll leave you with this question to think about. Knowing that stars are far more common than you thought, who on your team has that untapped potential just waiting to be unleashed?